Chapter 15, World Chains. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made. Genesis 2, 1-2. Whirling, glowing ether, fluidic but cohesive, throwing off sparks. Encountering moist air, it sends up clouds of vapor in its rapid motion. The Great Mother sends out her breath to blow cool and moist upon the fiery offshoots of the Father. Little by little, it gathers density until the children suited to its condition begin to move in its fiery heart like teeny flames, yet flames that have life and independent motion. All life is now gaseous light. The spirits of the gases hover over the glowing vapory mass. They fan it with their wings that it may cool and harden. Within the womb of the world mother, an infant globe slowly takes form. At last, upon this whirling sphere there descends, in one great rush, the spirits of the great ones destined to prepare this ethereal dwelling place for humanity. These are men indeed, men, divine men, manas, who reach their godlike state on former chains of worlds. They begin their work on the first and earliest globe of this chain in its most ethereal condition. Their work is to inform and prepare this life essence for future use. They blow their cool breath upon the glowing, vapory globe, and lo, it solidifies into the prototypes of that which becomes rock and mineral, imprisoning the spirit of life. Their lifeblood becomes currents of living force. They hover over the face of the great deep. Into the waters they breathe their life breath, and the waters are filled with innumerable living forms. From the waters and the cooling rocks a great mist arises. It is the spirit or life element of the coming humanity. It separates into masses. They take form and become ethereal beings floating like clouds over the still ethereal planet. Through all this first realm, the creators are engaged in preparing the earth, in forming the prototypes of that which is to be. It is the breath of their nostrils, the blood streaming of their life forces that is both transforming and reappearing in the life of the elements. Ere the earliest types are ready to take on denser ethereal forms, they pass into a sleep, which in this early stage is but a slight cooling down of the globe. Then a new day dawns, the second round. A new form of life appears, the vegetable. Once more must the parents of the race guide the pure, but as yet incorporeal beings, the second race, and teach them how to inform the planet. The manas must enter, through the breath of their nostrils, into the formation of the new globe. They must permeate the mineral to give it consciousness and penetrate the vegetable, very like the water of the ocean flowing through coral or some spongy substance, leaving behind its informing principle. As yet humanity is globular and ethereal, but must become acquainted with the globe in which it dwells. It becomes the mineral, the stone, the water, the air. The oceans are of carbonic acid, and the air is saturated with its evaporation. Gigantic trees form from the carboniferous exhalations of the early races. The immense coal beds were thus created by the informing beings, the progenitor of the coming humanity. After a prolaic night of short duration, they are ready for a new globe. They awaken to a new condition, the third round. Different strata have been formed. The earth crust is formed over the minerals and the giant trees. Now gigantic reptiles and beasts roam the earth with bodies and functions adapted to the existing conditions. Humanity is not yet ready to take solid form. In the fourth round, humanity falls into generation, is endowed with mind by the sons of mind. God breathed into man's nostril the breath of life, and he becomes a living soul. As humanity reaches the lowest point of this fourth round, the human body solidifies. The spiritual powers and psychic faculties are now limited, and all but lost in the dense physical envelope, mind begins to develop. From this point onward, man must work out his own redemption together with that of the earth. Up to this time, his evolution and that of the earth have been guided and directed by the manas, or the rishis, the progenitors of all that live and breathe on earth. The above is an extract from a cryptic lesson given by the master to the order explaining the formation of a world chain, but which the limits of this lesson are far too short to fully explain. However, although there has been much speculation, much confusion in the minds of students concerning these world chains, we will endeavor to explain herein only certain of their most practical phases, for a complete understanding of the subject belongs to the mysteries of the higher initiation. Just as man's body is the lowest expression of his sevenfold constitution, so is each visible planet but the lowest, densest aspect of a sevenfold chain, called by occultists a world chain. A world chain is composed of 7 globes of differing states of matter and consciousness, all existing at the same time and all interpenetrating. The globes of any one chain must not be identified with the visible planets, for only one globe of each chain is visible, each physically visible planet being the physical globe of its own chain, just as the Earth is the physical globe of the Earth chain. The other 6 globes of each chain are composed of finer and more ethereal states of matter to which our physical senses do not respond. They are invisible and hence to us apparently do not exist. In its descent, involution, into physical manifestation, life appears successively on each of the 7 globes during one day period called a round, 7 of such day periods or rounds being required to complete the cycle of manifestation, or involution, turning point, evolution. Our Earth has the now visible representative of its superior fellow globes, has to live, as have the others through 7 rounds. During the first 3 it forms and consolidates. During the 4th, our present round, it settles and hardens. During the last 3 it gradually returns to its first ethereal form. It is spiritualized, so to say. It may appear as though the evolving lives step from globe to globe of the chain, but in reality they merely evolve into new states of matter and consciousness. A new globe or plane of consciousness manifests when the consciousness evolved in the preceding round can no longer express itself on the old globe. In passing from globe to globe, a new principle is developed on each. Man can penetrate into the consciousness of the stage through which he has passed, but cannot penetrate into the realms that embody principles which he has not yet evolved. As man evolves, his consciousness is born into a new globe or state of consciousness, literally born into a new world which did not exist for him before, where all the familiar things of his daily life and of nature appear in a new and hitherto unsuspected light. This is due to an expansion of consciousness which enables him to respond to the vibrations of a higher globe, enabling him to grasp deeper meanings and understand teachings which he formerly regarded as mere vagaries of unbalanced minds or mythical word pictures of no practical value. Cycles and epochs depend upon consciousness. We are not here for the first time. The cycles return because we come back into conscious existence. Cycles are measured by the consciousness of humanity and not by nature. It is because we are the same people as on past epochs that these events occur to us. Undeveloped man responds chiefly to the vibrations of the physical globe, those things which he can see, hear, taste, handle, etc., and cannot comprehend or function in the globes belonging to the psychic and spiritual planes. Many so live in for the gratification of their animal appetites, desires, and passions that although they are living on earth, they are dwelling in the world of desire, or the globe embodying the desire principle, where desire reigns supreme. For such, every thought, act, and experience of life is interpreted from the standpoint of animal desire. Others dwell so completely in the mental world that the desire world, and even the physical world, has little power over them. Many function in a dream world, the astral envelope of the physical earth, in which the physical, desire, and mental worlds are all reflected. Some are able to reach up into the soul world and receive their mystic soul birth, while a few receive their birth into the spiritual world, where their consciousness becomes one with their Father in heaven. The phenomena of true conversion is but the birth of the consciousness into the soul globe or plane. The majority of humanity, however, function in the 3 lower worlds, physical, mental, desire, at the same time or vibrate from one to the other. The mental world, however, has 2 aspects, a high and a low, and since man is endowed with free will, he can chain mind to the lower worlds and make of this great gift but a servant to gratify desire and intensify physical life, or he can use his gift of mind to reach up into the higher worlds of soul and spirit. Man must ultimately function and gain experience on all 7 globes at the same time, checking up, balancing, perfecting the experience of one by that gained on the others, thus rounding out his 7-fold nature into the real man. Only thus can he gain mastery over the portion of goods given him by his Father in heaven. What is referred to in the above quotation as taking place in each round is the ultimate characteristic evolved while the life wave was passing around the chain of 7 globes during that round. And what is referred to as humanity or man is, of course, not man as we know him today, but stages in the involution or descent into matter of that which became man at the middle point of the 3rd race of the present 4th round. During the first round, the center of the stage of action was occupied by the mineral kingdom. The mineral dominated the entire chain, reaching its greatest density on the 4th globe. In the rocks formed during that period, science finds no trace of either vegetable or animal forms. During the second round, the vegetable kingdom occupied the center of the stage and dominated the earth chain, the mineral kingdom being subservient. It was upon the fourth globe of that round that giant vegetation flourished in an atmosphere of carbonic acid gas. The remains of that vegetation are still preserved to us in the form of coal. The rocks formed during and after that period record the characteristics of the vegetation but no trace of animal life, for the animals had not yet taken on or descended into solid physical form. During the third round, animal life dominated the globe in the form of giant reptiles and monstrous animals whose remains science has found preserved in many places. During this period, both mineral and vegetable kingdoms were subservient to the animal. The rocks at that time contained traces of both vegetable and animal life, but not of man, for he was still astral or superphysical. During this present fourth round, it is man who descends to the physical plane and dominates the globe through the power of mind, all the lower kingdoms being subservient to him. Since man is the microcosm of the macrocosm, in his spiritual evolution he must pass through stages analogous both to his own physical evolution and that of the planet. Just as during his interuterine life he passes through the evolutionary stages of the early races, vegetative, animal, and human. The first three rounds would be represented in man's spiritual evolution by the innocence of ignorance. During this period he goes on his way actively doing neither good nor evil, vegetating indifferent to the higher ideals, yet not groveling in the lowest. Persons in this stage take life as they find it, with little thought as to its significant or its deeper problems. They are happy and carefree, neither very good nor very bad. Average, good-natured persons with whom the world goes well, and who experience little sorrow or suffering. There must come a time, however, when, like the planet, the evolutionary urge involves them in still deeper, denser conditions. Their carefree conditions change, since they pay little attention to the higher ideals of life and concentrate all their efforts on physical gratification. They come to live more and more in their animal natures. They become carried away with animal desires, with the love of money for the gratification of creating creature comforts, with ambition, with great selfishness, resulting in extreme cruelty to their brother men. All these conditions gradually plunge them into the denser animal realm where, like the immense animals that roam the earth during the third round, they prey upon one another, living only to enhance and gratify their animal natures and prolong their animal pleasures. In this period of spiritual growth, the animal passions dominate. Man now seeks to escape sorrow and suffering through indulgence in animal desire. In obeying the inner urge toward harmony or happiness, he madly plunges into all manner of animal excess and self-indulgences with little regard for the rights of others, but freedom from suffering still eludes him. Ultimately, he reaches a point where the real man begins to control, corresponding to the period when man began to dominate the earth. As with the planet, so with the race and the individual. The vegetative and animal stages lead steadily toward a condensation of conditions. Just as the passing of the gigantic vegetation of the second round added to the density of the globe in the form of coal and the enormous animals of the third round by their deposits of bone, so during the corresponding periods of his evolution has man helped to create for himself denser physical conditions, karmic conditions of suffering and sorrow, which he must experience and redeem. Little by little, through sorrow and suffering, he awakes to the realities of life. Sorrow and suffering are to man what matter is to spirit, the sinking into the densest and most limiting condition of expression. And the object is the same, that is, for spirit to gain experience in physical conditions and thereby redeem matter, for man to gain his soul experience and thereby redeem the causes in the world which produce sorrow and suffering, namely sin and disobedience, as well as to redeem the matter in which he clothes himself. Hence, while the law of karma will bring to all the suffering they have earned, at the same time as they conquer, they become redeemers for the race, for they cannot conquer for themselves alone. They have been born from the world of thoughtless action into the realm corresponding to the period when man was endowed with mind. They have begun to respond to their higher mind. Once having reached this point, they can go no more back. Life no longer flows smoothly. They can no longer be thoughtless and carefree, for they must henceforth take in their own hands the working out of the great problems of their spiritual lives, just as man at the corresponding stage took over the guidance of his physical body. They must seek for themselves a solution of life's problems. When you have reached this stage, you have entered the fourth degree of humanity, where you consciously take up the work of spiritual regeneration. In this degree, you consciously start out upon the path and must conquer all the kingdoms below you, both in yourself and in the world. All who are interested in these teachings, for example, have reached this point. And to you we will say that you are not mere creatures of impulse driven hither and thither by relentless fate, but are children of your Father in heaven. You have reached your majority and are being tested. You are encouraged to take up the great work of your own redemption. Your guidance is now no longer that given a schoolboy, but rather the supervision of a loving parent over one who must of his own free will follow the principles taught by that parent. It is comforting, however, to realize that you have this power to walk alone, or you would not be where you are today. If you were still a child in spiritual leading strings, the great problems of life would not confront you, for the law of divine love brings to the soul only such problems as has the strength to meet and conquer. Your heavenly Father would not that any perish, yea, not one sparrow falleth to the ground, but the Father knoweth. Seek then to reach up in consciousness to the soul world, to the globe of divine love, a new world in which you can dwell if you will. Your heavenly Father has prepared a mansion for you in that world, which you do not have to pass through the change man called death to enter. But you do have to let go and cease climbing to the things of the lower world, for that to which you cling and which you permit your mind to dwell in is the world in which you must function. You may do your duty in the lower worlds and still dwell with your Father in his world of love and glory. Realize that he is watching over you, and his world envelopes you and will manifest to you if you will but open your heart to let it in. Like a human parent, but in a degree far transcending the human, your Father suffers with you, yet understands the necessity for you to conquer alone. The greatest gift to man is free will. It must be your will to reach out for the guiding hand that is always within reach, even in the darkest night, ere you can find it. All is law, and all law is love. It is the life essence of this law, the Christ force, which has overcome the world, or which has brought about the physical evolution of the planet. Hence it must also bring about your spiritual evolution, and bring to perfection all who choose to work in harmony with the Christ. Nothing can overwhelm you if you make this great truth the foundation of which you build your life.